Okay, so going to install the alternator, and before I put it in, I was just looking at so there's an oil leak here, and for good reason. Somebody's used the clear silicone to do the valve cover, so that will have to be done. So I know this is about installing the alternator, but while we were at the valve cover, just want to, sometimes just a little trick of turning these a little bit can just help close the gap. They don't feel loose though. Just a little bit of a notch up can make all the difference. So I'm not even doing quarter of a turn, probably 1/8 of a turn. That one's a bit loose. So I'm just going to do that along the bottom ones here. I don't need to do the top ones. Just going to 1/8, maybe quarter of a turn. Just if they're loose, I'll go quarter. If they're not loose, I'll go 1/8. Just to give them a bit of a tension up and hopefully stops that leak, or at least slows it down. Okay, so I mentioned before, just putting this bottom bolt in loose like that. I'll tighten that up once it's actually in place. So I'll sit it in there. I'm not going to be able to do that with one hand, so I'll get it in there and then I'll show you. Okay, like so. So that's in place now. Just need to tighten them both up. They're 14. Tighten them both up. Connect them back up. I'll tighten both of them back up and then we'll put the belt on next. And so I left the breaker bar connected from last time I did it, so it's already in place. I just need to pull it up so I can put that belt in place. Also, you might want to put cardboard in front of the radiator if you're a little bit clumsy and you think that you might bump it. You don't want to damage the radiator. I was well aware of what I was doing there and to be careful of that, so I didn't do any damage. But you know, just have a big sheet of cardboard that goes over so you can muck around and not have to worry about damaging the radiator. Would be a good idea. Okay, so belt's back on. I don't know if you need to have a look at that to know which way it goes back on. Hopefully there's a good enough view there. Okay, so you can see the legs on the bottom of this fan just goes into the spots down the bottom there, so it's easy enough to line up. Just put them in, bolt it back on. Okay, so I've got everything I need back on. Alternator's in place, wires and everything's bolted back up. I've got to just cable tie a few things off that got broken clips. That was like that before. I'm going to address this before I put the bar back on, because that hose looks like it's not sitting far enough forward, and the radiator looks like it's probably ready for a new radiator anyway. I'll mention that. And the alternator is going to get changed in the next 3 months anyway, so it only needs to last 3 months. I did notice that after I looked at it on the computer, so I had a bigger screen, that the sleeve slip ring, one of the brass joints was down to the plastic, so I don't think it's going to last a couple of years. I think it'll probably last a year the way it is, but it's only going to last 3 months, so that's fine. I'm going to swap it out then. And I'll probably do the valve cover gasket too, just for good measure, because I don't like that it's been done with silicone. When you do things like that, you use a non-hardening lubricant, like a gasket glue, and the proper gasket. Don't use, unless you've got no choice, you can't buy the gasket at all, don't use silicone. Not only is it messy stuff to play with, it's also, if the surface was cleaned properly, it's a real pain to get it back off. Anyway, we're going to start her up and see if the alternator lights off and taking a charge. Okay, so that voltmeter there I put in, it should show about 11 volts, something like that. Yeah, that's what it was when I parked it here. Now if I start it, beautiful. Straight away. Sometimes it can take a couple of minutes before it starts working. Like this one started working straight away. Beautiful. 13.4 is a bit low, it should be 14, but battery lights off, everything's happy. I'm going to put a meter on the battery and see what the volt reading there says. Okay, so the meter's reading 14 volt, that's perfect. I'm going to just blow a bit of steam off there for all the water that degrees it with and whatnot. But yeah, we're good to go. Happy days. I'll put it back together. And it still reads 13.4 in the car, so basically 13.4 in the car means 14 volt under the hood. This is wired in to the same wiring that's to the stereo system though, so it's getting its power from there, so that's fair enough. You know, it's losing a bit of power, but just know that 13.4, so it's probably just charging just under 14 volt right now, which is fine. I'll give it a bit of a rev just for good measure. Yeah, it doesn't make any changes in here. That's fine. With modern day cars, it's probably a metered power as well, that it's going to be, you know, it can't be more than a certain amount. But anyway, this is what triggered the owner to say 11 volt, which is not good while driving. Noticed that the battery light was on, and you know, that's when she gave me a call and said, what's going on? And I said, don't turn the car off, just bring it home. So, you know, don't use lights or anything. I said, just bring it home, don't use lights or anything, because, you know, you're running on battery power only. And so she got home and it was reading 11 point whatever volt that was before, and that's when we parked it here, and yeah, happy days. So now turn that off, we can put everything back together. That's going to read, yep, good. Charging good. Okay, all done. Everything's clipped back into place. Even down there. Hopefully you can see down there. You know how that goes back on. If you didn't remember how you took it apart, everything just lined back up easily. So I just need to put all these covers back on now, and put the data port back on. So that's right here. Other way around. Like that. Too easy. As the covers on and we're done. I always had the same experience of Kia engines. So when I started this job, I checked the oil and it looked like too much oil. Now it's spot on. So I don't get it. I haven't touched it. It's not the first time that's happened though. I've worked on Hyundais and so forth, which are basically all Kia engines. Same thing. You read them next day, from one day to another, they don't always read the same. Anyway, it's all back together, ready to go out. I'm not putting all these back in because 2-3 months time, taking it all apart again anyway, and I'll replace these with new ones. But it's good enough to be in place right now. Just put the bottom row in. That's tied in. Happy days. Alright, thanks for watching guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.